என்னது man cave-ஆ?
Oops. My luck. Then how about man-woman cave or woman cave or couple cave? Doesn't sound right.
அது அப்புறம் பார்த்துக்கலாம். இப்போ ப்ராஜெக்ட்க்கு வாங்க.
Okay, madam. Let's get rolling. Hello, guys. Hope all is well and safe on your side. Welcome to our third video, guys, where we are going to talk about one of the projects that we have been working on during this lockdown starting from mid-June last year. As you all can see, it's basically a man cave setup. My wife also plays games on this and she loves this setup as well, so I cannot really call it a man cave, isn't it? Anyways, this project is mainly about creating a place where I can work comfortably and play all the games I want. It's more of a childhood dream, and this lockdown provided the perfect opportunity. The challenge I gave myself was not to rush into things and spend a whole lot of money at one go. That kind of kills the whole buzz. So I wanted to start from a basic setup first and then slowly upgrade every month by allocating a certain budget to it. So of course, with lockdown there was no travel, so no social gatherings, so there was still a certain amount of money that I was saving every month, and this actually went into this particular project. And over a period of 1 year, more than a year, to be really honest, the amount is not a big amount, guys, considering what all the equipments that I have bought. It's still a decent project within the budget. So when lockdown kicked in, this was the initial setup that I had. Yes, that's an ironing board. As you can see, it's a very simple setup. Ticked the boxes at that time because it was a very small studio apartment. The next option I had at that time was to work from the sofa, where it didn't really work out. Most of the time I ended up sleeping. Moved into a new house, got a table, and finally a space to create a workstation. First step, I wanted to build a PC myself, but I did not know how to go about the selection of the CPU specifications, and I did not have the confidence to assemble it myself. So hence found a decent seller who recommended me a spec within the budget I gave, which was $1,000, as I wanted to go for at least a mid-level spec for decent gaming, leaving the room for further upgrades later down the line. So eventually this was the result and the specs. Slightly over the budget. Some of my friends did tell me that I could have saved some amount here. But anyways, it is what it is. It is my first buy, and it was a good learning curve. And looking back at things now, if I would have known what I know now, I would have definitely built my own PC at that time. So it was AS ROG Steel Legend motherboard with AMD Ryzen 3 500 processor. Graphics card I used was the GeForce RTX 2060 Super 8GB, which demanded a power supply of minimum 550 watts. So we used the Sonic S12 550 watts. This was actually a mistake, as later I had a problem with the system, which I will explain on another video. I had to upgrade the power supply to 750 watts, which was another $120 on top. So on the hindsight, this could have been saved. So the total cost became $1,430. So as a start, I went for the wireless keyboard ProLink brand, which costed me $40. The monitor I used is the Prism Plus brand X300. This monitor is an absolute great buy and a good value for the money. It's 200 Hz high refresh rate, and it's a 30-inch ultra wide screen monitor. So together they formed an amazing workstation and a platform where I can do the research for the rest of my buys later on. And I started with a large non-slip mouse pad, which costed me around $12. So the keyboard and the mouse selections were very straightforward at that time. I decided to go for Razer Black Widow Elite and Razer Elite gaming mouse. Both were really great additions and perfect for gaming as well as for work from home. I also bought and installed a height adjustable table that is movable. This gave an additional workstation, and me and my wife can work in the same room now. So that completes phase 2 of the system, and the total cost of the project till that particular time, it was $2,209. And we are moving on to phase 3, which was the arrival of our Titan, which costed me $579. So at that time there was a big demand for gaming chairs, and you'll have to wait for several weeks for the products to arrive, and it was very difficult to find that is on stock. Based on online reviews, I narrowed it down to 3 brands and eventually decided to go for Secret Lab, and till this date I do not have any regrets. Great buy and great quality. This gave a complete new vibe and energy to the setup. Then I got an RGB gaming mousepad which is powered by USB. Followed by this turbo fan that I found online, perfect size, and it found its place in the pack later on. So with all items installed, so this is how phase 3 looks like. As you can see, the gaming mode is more visible now with all the RGB lights. So by September 2020, the total cost was $2,838 for all these items. The fan and the height adjustable table also found their place in the setup. So in this way, it allowed both me and my wife to work in the same room at the same time. So then a small bonus item, the G29 Logitech Wheel. I'm a big fan of rally racers and this really does help to bring a great gaming experience onto the table. This was not part of the checklist and I found a good deal on Shopee, so I was like, why not? Come on, a man cave needs gadgets, especially gaming gadgets. So I bought only the wheel and I decided to buy the shifter later on another upgrade depending on what my experience is. But so far I really love this particular gadget and it's one of my favorites. By the end of last year, the total cost was $3,194. So early this year, following all the deals online, I bought all these additional gadgets. So the first one was the Logitech C920 webcam, followed by the G29 shifter, which was the final piece of the racing gadget. Then I got this power socket which had the required number of USB slots for my RGB lights. Then I also got this charging station from Anker 60 watt power supply, which is useful for charging phones and laptops. And for the speakers, I went for the Logitech 560 LightSync speakers. I will tell more about these speakers later down the line. So I did get lucky with the table, so I'll tell you the story later on. For now, I will walk you through more about the entire installation process in terms of how I installed it and how I worked all the items out. The desk was kind of perfect in every aspect, and I had to just figure out the way to make the best use of the space and the arrangement. So this is the back view of the desk. So the cables are all neatly organized and I put all the empty boxes on the back of the desk. So all the boxes neatly arranged, and I also installed some RGB lights at the back, which all worked perfectly for the next gadget that I'm going to install. And that's a simple table cloth that I got from Daiso, just $2. Perfectly blends well with the desk. And so once the desk is pushed in, this is the space that is being created, a perfect spot for my next gadget. The CPU, the subwoofer, the clutch pedal all found their perfect spot underneath the table. I had a broken TV, the screen was broken and it was beyond repair, and I decided to do some experimentation, remove the TV, and I found 3 interesting pieces of materials that I can use for this setup. So it had this white cardboard, I call it cardboard, I don't know what it is, the TV experts should know what exactly that is, but it made a great addition to the gadget. Taking the space behind this particular desk, giving that white space. In addition to this, one of the materials was also a very interesting one. It had a very shiny nature to it, so I knew if I install this, it's going to work very well with the RGB lights. So that also goes at the back. And eventually I was very impressed with the final results, and this is how it looked like. So this desk was absolutely perfect for the steering wheel and the shifter. So it had a space in between where I can install it. So once installed, this is how it looks like. I couldn't ask for more. This was just perfect, just perfect. So once when not in use, this is where they go. And one of my favorites, the turbo fan, also found its place in the whole setup. There was a small mount where it can be placed and aimed at my seat. There are some days where I don't really like to use the aircons, so this is my savior for those days. And lastly, a cable organizer is definitely a useful piece of gadget, especially for all the chargers. It gives a very neat look and a more efficient work process in a daily life. So that completes phase 4 of the project, and the total cost till May 2021 was $3,681. At night, the RGB lights can bring up a nice tone and ambience to the desk, whether it's working or gaming. Gaming is always fun and experience gets elevated with the lights, especially when they sync with the sounds. So we got really hooked up with Dirt Rally, Forza Horizon and Horizon Zero Dawn. So we also had a ground rule not to overwhelm ourselves with too many games. So the ground rule was to stick to 2 to 3 games at one point of time. We finish the game and then we move on to the next. We also had a limit on the number of hours that we play on the games on the weekends, just to make sure that we also spend time just to get out there, to go out for a walk, or at least get some exercise done, because it's very easy to get hooked up into the game and spend several hours, because you won't even feel the time swinging by so fast. We did a few more upgrades, not essential items to be honest, just some gadgets to finish up the aesthetics and some functional improvements. So one was the monitor riser stand. Gives a slight uplift to the monitor, followed by this small digital clock which kind of tells you the humidity in the room, something fancy. We also bought a screen bar to add extra work light, and this was a good buy. For the price, it was really worth it. It's supposed to be installed on top of the monitor. Since I have my webcam there, I decided to put it on top of the desk, which disperses the light on the keyboard area. I used the packaging materials as a mount to install the light, and it fitted perfectly. The light actually has several interesting light modes, including a no blue light filter, and this comes in really handy, especially when you're working late nights. To add an additional layer of light behind the screen, I installed this USB powered LED under the table, which will not be visible from outside. You can see it only from underneath. Came in quite handy, gave the extra brightness that I needed for the table, and the wires go into the corner, and this is the switch. And there was this additional table lamp in the house which I was not really using. Thought that this might be a good addition to the setup. Gives another extra layer of lighting. This phone and tablet holder is a very interesting piece of gadget. It's very simple, but does a very effective job of holding my tablet as well as my phones. This is one of my recent favorites. It's a sound control RGB bar. It's sensitive to vibrations, as you can see. It can be installed horizontally as well as vertically, and behind this there are buttons. So there are different modes which can play according to the setup that you have got. So I prefer installing it horizontally, and this is where it goes. And this is how it looks with the audio. Here's the preview. This desk is a very interesting final piece to the collection. Install the mobile standing desk next to the existing desk. This allows both of us to work in the same room. As you can see, the room is quite small, and this layout comes in really handy to make the best use of the space. I usually keep my work laptop on it and use it as a secondary workstation if I feel like standing and working. If an additional person needs to come in, and just all we need to do is just turn the table and adjust the height, the secondary workstation is ready. So this replaces the previous height adjustable table that I had, which I removed from the room. So which this overall completes the layout of the entire setup. So to address the complaints of not being able to play 2-player games at once, we got these 2 joysticks from Logitech. They are well built and good value for the money, and they are also quite robust. Good starter kit for beginners like ourselves. And also, considering that this is also a workstation where we work for our living, we also keep a money plant which we believe brings positive energy. And so far so good. So that brings us to September 2021. Work is still in progress, and the total cost of the project is $3,885. So lastly, about this desk, how did I get it? I actually got lucky. One of my neighbors, they were refurbishing their house and they wanted to get rid of this table, so I immediately took it on board, hoping to dismantle it for another project that I was working on, which was an aquaponics project. But after realizing that this table, some parts of this table is made of metal, it's not going to really work well with water. So thank God I did not dismantle it, and then I realized I can use it for this particular project. But of course, looking back, this was a very, very good decision. I don't know where my neighbors got this table from, but I have seen this table in IKEA recently here in Singapore. For those of you all who are watching this video, if you are here in Singapore and if you're really interested in this table, maybe IKEA might be the place to go for. And just for information, just 2 weeks back I did see this table on one of their clearance display units. So here's the video of it. I don't know if it's still there. If you guys are still watching it, if it's still there, all the best, good luck in taking that on board. So about the speakers, so when it comes to speaker selection, so I did a heavy research on this, and there were several brands and good models out there that I could select from. So amongst those selections, I decided to go for the Logitech G560. For the pricing, the sound quality is extremely good, and the subwoofer is a decent size to generate a very good bass. And last but not least, I do like the RGB lights. It actually synchronizes with the games that you play, the songs that you listen to. So with the setup that I have, this kind of blends in very well. And here's a quick preview of the sound it generates. So that's it, guys. In summary, here's the snapshot of the breakdown of the products in each phase. Total cost was 3,888 till date, which is of September 2021. So if I divide this amount by 15 months on the running, that's 259. If you think about it, this is easily an amount that we spend on social gatherings, on drinks and stuffs. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will keep you updated on the newer developments which I have already worked on. So look forward for my next video. Until then, going with the flow, savvy.